The forum following the investment trail in emerging markets gave the dais a chance to question the keynote speaker, Ruchir Sharma, on his address.
So, Ruchir, before we open up the Q&A to everyone in the hall, I have a question for you. Based on this book, which is so deeply personal and you put in so much hard work into it, what's the best compliment or review you've got on the book, and what's the worst, and how did you deal with both?
Well, so far, like the reviews have been decent. I think that for me, the single biggest thing which has been gratifying, that it's a commercial success.
Okay.
Because I think that there are too many people, like especially in the world of academics and people like me. Now, let me tell you one thing: books don't make you money, right? So, no, I mean, unless you're J.K. Rowling or something, books don't make you money. But what many people like in my industry or many academics or people like saying is the fact that as long as you get good reviews in the newspapers, etc., you have achieved your goal. And to me, that was never the idea. I wanted the book to be a commercial success. For whatever it's worth, I haven't mentioned this in this book, but I can tell it now because enough time has elapsed, that I always said that all the royalties of the book will go to charity, which are due to me. But I want the book to be a commercial success. I want it to be on the bestsellers list for one reason, that I want people to read it. So the best compliment for me is the fact that it has done okay commercially, and the fact that I've had people come up to me, especially like some people, and said, this is the first economic book that I've read because it was accessible. So to me, that's been the compliment.
So, Ruchir, among the 150 so-called emerging markets, which would be, in current context, the top 2 or 3 that you would rate in terms of breakout nations and the hottest investment destinations?
Well, I think Southeast Asia is coming back. I think Southeast Asia suffered a lot from China's devaluation in '94, but Southeast Asia is making a real comeback. So I'd say some of those economies are, to me, pretty good. Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines appear quite good. I think that some countries in Eastern Europe represent interesting value. Turkey's been doing quite well. I think that some of these economies like Poland, etc., may also do well. There are pockets of Africa, such as Nigeria, also, which could do well. But I think that the problem is, I think that this whole concept of BRICS is so last decade. That this was something which worked last decade, expectations got inflated, and those expectations are now being beaten down. I think that's the problem with those markets.
After the panelists had their opportunity to question Ruchir Sharma, the audience got a chance to quiz him on emerging markets, economic prospects, challenges and opportunities.
Vikram of HSBC, would you like to ask your question, please?
So, Ruchir, excellent speech today. Thank you so much. With so much liquidity in the market, one would imagine that some asset bubbles would be in the making. So, what do you think would be the asset bubbles? When's the signal that the bubble is going to burst? Any comments there?
Well, I'm not quite sure. This liquidity argument is a bit sort of, I think, exaggerated. That yes, there's a lot of money which is floating about there, but a lot of it is getting stuck at the banks. So look at what's happening like in India. We speak about tons of liquidity out there, but why is the rupee sort of still at 54, 55? Why is the current account deficit at 4% of GDP and you're not being able to fund it fully all the time? There's no increase in foreign exchange reserves which is taking place in India anymore, like it was. It's because a lot of this liquidity by the central banks, the banks in turn, the financial institutions, whether it's got to do in the US or Europe, they're not lending that forward. So I think the liquidity is not as plentiful as we think it is. And so I'm not that concerned about asset bubbles. Yes, there is a slight scope that some of these economies which are doing well, there could be asset bubbles in those because people are always chasing stuff which is doing well. And in this regard, therefore, if you look at some of the markets I mentioned, like Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, or in Latin America, Peru, Colombia, they're all now starting to trade at a premium compared to other markets. So those markets may see a liquidity bubble because people chase the few growth stories which are still doing well. But I don't think there's a generalized liquidity issue in the world because a lot of the liquidity that central banks are creating is not getting lent forward.
Okay, Anuj Joshi, you had a question, please.
Yeah, I actually also saw O'Neill on TV, and then I read his comment. So he's the gentleman who started the whole BRICS movement.
Right.
Anyway, so he talked about the fact that China is growing faster and so on and so forth, but that India is not really a true breakout nation according to him. Chances are not even 50-50 according to him. And he talks about why China will succeed where India will fail is primarily because they have adapted to the fact that they've gone on a growth trajectory and they have figured out how to plan for the demographic changes which they're going to go through and so on and so forth. Whereas India sort of believes that the world owes it a living and an 8% growth.
Well, these are very subjective takes in terms of how they'll do. I'm equally concerned about China today because I think that China, the debt levels and like in China today are extremely high. Like I just wrote this piece of the Wall Street Journal, in fact, a few days ago, saying that China has its own debt bomb. So I'm equally concerned about China today. And I think that what we have to do is to stop these India-China comparisons too much because China today is like 4 to 5 times richer than we are. They're at a different plane. So to compare India and China to me is completely misleading. These countries have nothing in common apart from their large populations. They're very different societies, very different structures, and China today has very different problems because its per capita income today is nearly $7,000. We're at $1,500. We're where China used to be 15 years ago. So the roadmap for India and what India needs to do is very different from what China needs to do. So I'd say these comparisons are nice to make, but really have no economic basis according to me. And that's been my problem with this whole BRIC concept as well. They're very different economies with very different agendas. And to sort of compare them, therefore, is not fair. And I think that's the issue I have with the India-China comparison as well.
The evening came to a close with managing partner Positive Moves Consulting, Praveen Malhotra, delivering the closing address.
So taking a cue from the title of this very insightful and fascinating book, I would like to introduce to you the concept of breakout Indian. Is it a coincidence that there are more Indians in boardrooms and corner offices of corporations globally? Rakesh Kapoor at Reckitt Benckiser, Indra Nooyi at Pepsi, Anshu Jain at Deutsche Bank. Two of our distinguished guests, both Shiv and Ruchir themselves, are a testimony of this fact. So something must be right. It's not just the corporates, but also deans of some of the best business schools, Harvard, Chicago, INSEAD, they're all Indians. By one estimate, in a study done recently, Indians account for almost 15% of the global executive workforce. It's a well-known fact that over the last few decades, MNCs across sectors have leveraged their presence in India to build global Indian talent pools. So what is it about Indians that make us successful globally? I guess high IQ, global mindset which enables us to work across diverse market and cultures, and our capability to adapt to the rapidly changing business environment differentiates Indian talent. On behalf of Positive Moves team, I would like to thank Ruchir and Shiv for sharing deep insights and for making our 20-year celebration extremely special and memorable. Thank you, Shiv. Thank you, Ruchir. Thank you very much.
The Positive Moves Where Will the Money Go forum succeeded in answering key questions about India's growth trajectory, strategy and development. An evening to share ideas and analyze the rise of emerging markets.